Hello, hello, friends. It's a Sunday afternoon, October 5th, 2025, and I welcome you to my channel and my podcast of Candid Expressions. If you haven't already subscribed to this channel, I would request you to please be so kind and subscribe so that we can enjoy this journey together of telling stories that inspire, that encourage, and that liberate. But sometimes it's just for entertainment. But this particular time, I want to share a story of resilience. Um, what I'm looking at here is my fence. That's a live fence. This is a real live fence because electric fence is electric, and it's only live when there's power. Out in this part of Kenya, actually, most of the country, most of the time, we hardly have any power. So it's only live when you have power. So this one is something I planted and I want to show you. This is how live it is because it's really thorny. And these things, boy, if they get into your skin, you're leaving part of your body there. So I don't think anybody wants to toy around with this and try to climb over something like this. And this, as you can see, is very thick and pretty high. Now, the reason I chose to tell the story about this fence today is because God has been so gracious to me. 5 years ago, I think it is 5 years, because I was just during COVID 2020, so 5 years ago, this past August, on the 9th to be precise, it still remains a very significant day. First of all, it is the day that we laid my grandma, my beautiful, beloved grandma, to rest. So I remember that day very fondly, very vividly. And so just when it was turning 1 year since we laid her to rest, a wildfire decided to ravage my home and really raced through it, cutting through this fence. And you can imagine how thick this is, and it burnt all the way to the ground. It burned and we were only left with sticks. I can't see any, but it kind of looked like this when it burned. And I just knew, and anybody else around knew, that was it. That was the end of the story. We would never have a live fence again unless I have to grow it. And boy, let me tell you, it cost me a lot of money and time and patience and watering to get it where it was. Now, one thing I always like to say is I love to thank God for the way He answers prayers, even in situations that look hopeless. Like in this situation, everybody was very sure that we would never get this fence back. But I dared to believe beyond the shadow of doubt that the same God that resurrected people from the dead, like Lazarus, and the dead child of that servant that came to Jesus, is the same God. I said, you know what, God, if you can bring dead people to life, surely you can bring a dead fence to life. And it took me about 2 weeks or so to really internalize the exposure, the way I was exposed to, my home was made vulnerable. I mean, predators, anybody could just have crept through the fence and just come and attack me because, again, living as a single progressive woman in a developing community, it's never been an easy part of my journey since I moved back to Kenya. And so anyway, it was August in the middle of a long drought. And so there was no hope in sight. But we don't walk by sight, we walk by faith. And so I dared to believe in God that He could revive my fence. And so fast forward, October came, like the season we're in right now is October 5th, and the rains have started early. But that time, the rain started around the third week of October, which is the usual schedule. And it started raining. And in 3 weeks, I started seeing little bitty leaves sprouting from a distance. And I would think, is this really the fence coming back to life? Over 2 months since it burned down. And I would look at them and I would wake up every morning, like the same way I didn't believe when it first burned and I couldn't believe what I was looking at every morning. I started coming out in the morning. I couldn't believe what I was looking at. But for sure, yes, it started growing. around. This is just part of the fence, but it had burnt around the house all the way to the other side, and this garden here had burnt all the way to this other fence here. But the most affected one was this, and this is the one I was most concerned about. So anyway, I slowly watched as my fence started to come back to life. Resilience, faith, the power of believing, because we're told in Mark 11:24 and 25, whatever you pray, especially in verse 24, whatever you pray for, if you believe by faith that you can get it, then you have it. And so I prayed and I believed against all odds and beyond the shadow of doubt that God could revive my fence. And yes, a few months later, my fence started getting its life back. Then, of course, the rain seasons receded. And then again, we got some rains in March and April the following year, which was 2021. And so it continued to kind of creep back together. I had since started putting some chain link in some parts, especially right behind my house, just to secure my house. Not that chain link would keep anybody away, but, it would at least keep animals away, and it would still make it a little bit difficult for any invaders to come through. But then that rain season came. That was around Easter of 2021, and then the leaves were beginning to pick up again. And long story, by the end of that year, my fence was regrowing. And now, 5 years later, it's taller and thicker than it was before before the fire came through. And because God is able to do abundantly, exceedingly, and abundantly above all we could ever ask or even imagine, I never imagined one day, for one moment, that it could grow back so much stronger and thicker than it was before. And here we are with all these trimmings. Now we are having to cut off the excess growth, as you can see. And there is nobody else in my neighborhood who has this kind of fence. I must say, I'm among the very blessed children of God, and I thank God for that. And right in the middle of it is this bougainvillea flower, which is among the first three flowers, or the first three, flowers or plants in my home, which my mother cut from our home and came and planted it herself. And she would come and nurse it. Every week, at least twice, she would come and water it. It was very dry when she planted it, but she would come and water it. And in a way, it was like she was touching it and giving it life. And she encouraged me that, Nzembi, unless you've tried something 1, 2, 3 times, do not believe in the myth of anybody telling you this cannot grow here, this cannot do this, this cannot. If there's anything I hold on to here, is those words of my mother. May she rest in eternal peace. Because without that, I probably would never have thought of growing this. I would never have thought of putting this fence up. I would never have thought my fence can even grow back. But just look how beautiful is that. And look at all these trimmings that we've cut. And then I recently get this young man who came looking for a job, and he's such a hard worker. He's the one who's been trimming this, and this has only been a job of about a day and a half. And this is one side of the fence. The other side of the back, we're cutting and sealing the openings where the dogs are creeping out through. I just want to show you some more of the trimmings. Right in front of you is the other part of the fence where, like I said, it surrounded the entire home. It engulfed it all the way. Those trees were burnt. As you can see, the tallest tree there is a thorn tree. Some of the branches have never grown back, but I don't mind. The fence grew, and most of the other vegetables or plants that were raised down by the fire grew back. I have a cactus, excuse me, and this part here never quite grew back, but we were able to push and creep along whatever was already growing. We were able to creep it back and fill that space. But imagine that fire had come all the way through my my bonfire pit here until here, but this palm tree was saved somehow. It did not burn. And then I want to show you what we've been able to cut the last 2 days. Like I said, about a day and a half. Just a minute. Now look at all this. All this has been cuttings, trimmings from the excessive growth. Like this is above and beyond anybody's imagination, especially for this area. So anyway, whatever you do, whatever you may go through in life, even if it's a hope that you had, it's a career you had built, it's a relationship that you had put so much into, and just when you thought it was thriving and at its peak, everything comes crumbling down. There is hope at the end of the tunnel. Hope in God. Pray, trust, keep doing what you need to do, leave the rest up to God. He who did this, he who resurrected his son, he who raised Lazarus from the dead, he who restores the broken, would restore even your broken relationship, your broken or your fallen business, whatever it is. If it's health that you've lost, have faith. Have faith. There is hope, and there is hope for resurrection. There is hope for restoration when you have resilience and faith. Again, trust God in everything. Yeah, this is just amazing, amazing. These are not small trimmings. I want to show you. This is huge. These are huge branches. So we get to cut firewood out of this, and like I said, part of the trimmings, especially the tips, the ends there, we're using them to fence some of the openings where the dogs tend to creep through. So I thought I'd share that and encourage somebody to have hope, to have faith, and to work on your resilience, and know that with God, everything is possible. He who put life back into dry bones in the Bible days, he's the same yesterday, today, and forever. So whatever your dry bones may be, God can breathe life into that situation. Just commit it to him, but have faith and not doubt. God bless you. Again, subscribe to my channel. Let's keep telling stories. And if you have any story that can inspire and can liberate somebody, can motivate somebody, and free somebody out of bondage, please just send me a note at the comments section or inbox me, and let's talk about it. God bless you. Have a great remainder of the week, and we'll see you in the next film. Bye now.